Imagine a city square at twilight, centuries ago, filled with voices overlapping in debate, laughter spilling from tavern doorways, the clatter of dice games on stone steps. Now picture that same square today, empty, silent, but for the rustle of a stray plastic bag caught in the wind. What happened to the hum of human presence? Why does the very thought of reaching out, of simply being with another, now feel like lifting a weight too heavy to bear? We whisper the phrase, "Nobody wants to hang out anymore," as if it's a simple observation, a quirk of modern times. But beneath that surface lies a profound fracture in the human soul, a quiet unraveling of connection that speaks to something deeper, far deeper than busy schedules or shifting interests. What if this vanishing act, this retreat into isolated screens, is not just a social trend, but a symptom, a desperate reflex born from a world that has fundamentally altered how we see ourselves and each other? What if the ache you feel, that subtle loneliness even amidst digital chatter, is a signal, a forgotten echo of a primal need being systematically starved? And what if, by understanding the roots of this retreat, we uncover not just why we are vanishing from each other's physical lives, but how we might, just might, find our way back? Because the truth we'll explore, particularly the final insight, reveals a startling possibility about the very essence of human connection and the hidden cost of its absence. We walk through streets crowded with people, yet feel profoundly unseen. We possess devices capable of connecting us instantly to billions, yet struggle to sustain a single hour of undivided presence with a friend. The invitation hangs in the air. Want to grab coffee? And something within us recoils, not always with overt dread, but with a quiet inertia, a preference for the predictable solitude of our own curated spaces. We blame it easily. Too busy? Too tired? Next week? But the frequency of the decline, the sheer universality of the experience, whispers of a deeper current. Think of Pavlov's dogs, conditioned to salivate at the sound of a bell. Now consider us, conditioned by the relentless ping of notifications, the infinite scroll, the curated perfection flooding our feeds. Our nervous systems are bombarded, trained to seek the quick hit, the micro-validation, the effortless distraction over the slower, richer, but far more demanding currency of genuine face-to-face interaction. Hanging out requires presence, vulnerability, the capacity to sit with silences, to navigate the unpredictable terrain of another person's unfiltered reality. It asks us to step off the stage of performance, curated for our online personas, and simply be in all our messy, unedited humanity, and that, for a psyche conditioned to constant stimulation and control, can feel terrifyingly, drainingly real. When did sitting quietly with a friend, sharing space without agenda, become an act requiring effort we feel we cannot spare? What does it say about us that we'd rather send 10 emojis than share 10 minutes of actual eye contact? The friction of real connection feels increasingly alien. This retreat isn't merely personal laziness. It's woven into the invisible architecture of our age. Consider the marketplace, the ancient agora, once the beating heart of community, a place of commerce, yes, but also of conversation, debate, shared laughter, connection forged in the very act of being physically present among others. Now, our marketplaces are vast, invisible, and algorithmically driven. They thrive not on communal gathering, but on isolated consumption, on keeping us plugged into individual streams of content and commerce, designed to capture our attention, not foster our community. The economic engine rewards clicks, views, and solo purchases, far more than it rewards lingering conversations in parks or shared meals around a table. Our cities, built for efficiency and speed, prioritize solitary transit in cars or headphones over the serendipitous encounters of walkable streets. Our homes, often sanctuaries of isolation, lack the porches, the shared courtyards that once naturally invited neighborly connection. We have optimized for individual convenience, for frictionless consumption, and in doing so, we have inadvertently designed the friction out of human connection, making it seem less like a vital nutrient and more like an inconvenient chore. When public spaces shrink, when third places vanish, when every interaction carries a potential transactional undertone, hanging out ceases to be the default rhythm of life. It becomes an event requiring planning, energy, and overcoming a built environment that subtly whispers, stay home, stay separate, stay consuming. The world outside our screens often feels unwelcoming, designed for movement, not for lingering presence, not for the simple, profound act of being together without purpose. But the fracture runs deeper still, into the very bedrock of our self-perception. The curated perfection of digital life, the relentless highlight reels, breed a profound sense of inadequacy. We witness others' triumphs, vacations, seemingly effortless connections, and a silent fear takes root. Am I interesting enough? Is my life too mundane to share? Will I be found lacking in the glow of their apparent perfection? This is the tyranny of comparison, amplified 1,000-fold. It breeds a peculiar social anxiety, not just about being with others, but about being seen by others in our unvarnished, unphotographed reality. The act of hanging out, devoid of filters and editing, becomes an arena where our perceived ordinariness might be exposed. We fear the judgment, real or imagined, that might come from simply existing authentically in another's presence. Simultaneously, our digital interactions, while abundant, are often profoundly shallow. We mistake likes for validation, text chains for intimacy. We drown in connection, yet starve for depth. This paradox leaves us exhausted, emotionally malnourished. The thought of mustering the energy for the richer, more complex demands of in-person connection feels overwhelming, like being asked to run a marathon after living on candy. We crave the sugar rush of a notification, mistaking it for sustenance, while the slow-cooked meal of genuine conversation feels like too much work. Why venture into the uncertain terrain of real-time vulnerability when we can curate our persona, control the narrative, and receive measurable validation from the safety of our screens? We have become adept at performing connection while forgetting how to simply inhabit it. The very tools promising to connect us have fostered a new kind of isolation, one draped in the illusion of constant contact. Have you ever felt lonelier in a group chat than sitting alone in silence? That dissonance, that gap between the promise and the reality, is where the retreat begins. It whispers that perhaps it's safer, easier, less risky to just stay home. Before we continue, this type of video takes time and effort. If you enjoyed the content and want to support me, you can do so through Super Thanks. Thank you to everyone who appreciates the effort. Let's complete the journey together. And so, we pull back. We choose the predictable glow of the screen over the unpredictable warmth of a shared gaze. We mistake the absence of conflict for the presence of peace, forgetting that true peace, true connection, often resides on the other side of friction, of awkward silences, of differing opinions, of simply showing up imperfectly. Yet, in this retreat, something essential withers. We are social creatures, neurologically wired for co-regulation, for the subtle exchange of energy, tone, touch, that happens only in physical proximity. The shared laugh that vibrates through a room, the comforting weight of a hand on a shoulder, the unspoken understanding that passes between eyes. These are not luxuries. They are fundamental nutrients for our nervous system, our emotional resilience, our sense of belonging in the world. Without them, we become like plants starved of sunlight, existing, perhaps, but not truly thriving. We become fragmented, our sense of self echoing in the hollow chamber of our own solitude, rather than being reflected, validated, and gently challenged in the mirror of another's presence. This isolation, this substitution of digital performance for authentic being, breeds a unique kind of despair, a feeling of floating untethered, disconnected not just from others, but from the very essence of our own humanity. What happens to empathy, forged in the crucible of seeing another's pain flicker in their eyes? What happens to joy, amplified by the unrestrained laughter of companions? What happens to our sense of shared reality when we only experience life through the solitary lens of our own device? We risk becoming ghosts, haunting our own lives, specters flickering behind glass, yearning for a connection we've forgotten how to cultivate. The cost of this vanishing act is paid in the quiet erosion of our spirit, in a collective melancholy we struggle to name, in the feeling that something vital, something irreplaceably human, is slipping silently away. We traded the bustling, unpredictable agora for the sterile efficiency of the individual pod, and the echo in that vast, empty space is the sound of our own loneliness, amplified. But why did this trade seem so appealing? What profound need did the digital world seem to fulfill that the physical world supposedly lacked? And what did we sacrifice unknowingly in the bargain? The answer lies not in the technology itself, but in the deeper longing it exploited, the ancient wound it promised to soothe.